Good afternoon. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. It is June 8th, 2022 at 4:04 p.m. Here is your board clerk, Mr. C. Joseph Chang.
Thank you for Dr. Choi. Now it's my honor to open for the public section for today, San Marino Unified School District Board of Education special meeting, June 8, 2022 at 4:05 p.m. This is an in-person meeting at the Huntington Middle School auditorium. In the meantime, you can also join virtually via the Zoom at www.smusd.us/media to watch for the today the open section. First of all, I'd like to report for today closed section. So far, there's nothing to report this moment. And then I'd like to call to the order. First of all, roll call, Mrs. Ryan. Mrs. Chang.
Aye.
Mr. Kiraki.
Present.
Mr. Chen. Here. And 6A, a pledge of allegiance. Please rise face to the national flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, 6B, approve our agenda. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Roll call. Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Mrs. Choi, Chong,
Aye.
Mr. Kiraki,
Aye.
Mr. Chen, aye. Motion carried. Agenda 7, public comment. So public comment is very important for today open section. So there's 3 ways to collect the public comment. The first one is submit through the online form. So we suppose have to collect through the 10 a.m. through the 2 p.m. today. Is that there's any public comment through the email?
Mr. Chang, we did not receive any public comments through the online form.
Okay. So the Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matter pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Public comment is limited to only those items listed on the special meeting agenda. As I mentioned, there's 3 ways. So we already done the first, submit through an online form. Second, request to speak during a meeting via the Zoom. And the third, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. The public may submit the public comment for the open or closed section on the June 8, 2022 from the 10 a.m. through the 2 p.m. Comment received during this time will not be read during the meeting, but will be provided to the Board of Education. Request to speak during the meeting via the Zoom. During the public comment, the meeting will pause for 1 minute to take a request to speak. The raise hand function is used to take a request during the public comment period. For online attendee, press the raise hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attended, dial *9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of a request received. Individual speaker will be unmute and called to speak. Third, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. Please complete the public comment card and submit the completed card to the designated drop box with the assistant to the superintendent, no later than when the agenda section is called by the board clerk. Opportunity for the public comment are offered prior to the closed section and at the start of the regular open section matter on the agenda. The Board of Education reserves the right to add a public comment period prior to any individual item on the agenda. 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. However, in the event there are more than 4 speakers on the same subject matter, the board clerk retains the discretion to adjust and limit the time allocated to each speaker to ensure that all the wishing to speak will be heard within the 20 minutes allotment. 7A, communication from the audience concerning matter on the agenda may be heard at this time, but not responded to by the Board of Education. So Dr. Choi, please start to collect the public comments through the room.
Thank you, Clerk Chang. We are now pausing for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding matters on the agenda. If you'd like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. "30 seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Mr. Chang, we have no requests to speak.
Okay, and how about do we have any public comment in person?
We do not have any requests
Okay,
for public
good.
comment cards.
So I'm going to conclude for today 3-way public comment. Thank you so much. Agenda 8, board candidate interview. First of all, I'd like to talk about what's going on for entire process. On the May 24, the Board of Education appointed a subcommittee of the board to screen for applicants for eligibility. The appointed are Vice President Jen Chong and the board member Sherry Ryan. On the June 6th, the board met to hear public comment and to permit the subcommittee of the board to screen the application. At that time, 8 applications are submitted and 7 are eligible. On the June 7th, the name of the 7 eligible applicants are announced and their candidate statement are made public. Application contain language acknowledging that the candidate statement would be made public without alternation. As such, candidate statements are made public on the June 7th. The purpose of this afternoon meeting is to interview 7 eligible candidates. as identified by the subcommittee for the appointment to the Board of Education, and to appoint one successful candidate to the board seat vacated by Board President Mr. Name Jack. The individual appointed will serve out the remainder of a President Jack term. So mean start from today to the November before the election. Yeah, okay. So that's the short term. So everyone should understand this is the short term. It's not for the next 4 years. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Directori to discuss this process for this afternoon meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Chang. I'd like to begin by thanking all of the candidates here this afternoon for your interest in the vacant board seat. Thank you for being here. In an effort to make this process as understandable as possible, I'd like to just inform everyone that each candidate will be asked the same question by each of the 4 board members. Candidates will have a maximum of 2 minutes to respond to each of the questions asked, and we'll have copies of those questions in front of you. Dr. Choi will be the board's timekeeper and will provide the candidates with a 30-second warning, a 10-second warning, and a stop sign when the time for the response has expired. When the stop sign goes up, the microphone will be muted. This is not intended to be punitive. It's simply intended to ensure that no candidate receives an unfair advantage. The order in which the questions will be asked was randomly selected using numbers after having listed each candidate in alphabetical order. Each number was assigned, again, in a randomized manner. Once all of the candidates have been interviewed and public comment has been rendered, the board president shall ask for a motion to appoint from the board, a second, and a vote. At this time, a new board member shall be sworn in, and he or she shall begin to serve the remaining term. Public comment will take place before and after interviews. Are there any other comments from you, Mr. Chang? Okay, let's get started. I turn it back over to you.
I would like to give a privilege to each of the applicants. If you have any question for this process, so you can raise your hand, so we can give you the explanation. Yeah. Is there anyone have any question? Okay, that's good. Yeah, let's start. Yeah.
Okay, so we will start with Vice President Jane Chong.
Thank you all for being here. So my first question will be to Mr. Barger. And the question, I'm not sure, do you have the questions in front of you? You do, okay. So I will read it, and then if anybody wants me to repeat it, I'll repeat it. And if not, then for the sake of time, I won't. So Mr. Barger, Board Bylaw 9200 states, the board is the unit of authority over the district and that a board member has no individual authority. Each of 5 board members votes and gives direction to the administration on matters pertaining to the schools. Do you believe the board as a unit should seek unanimity, consensus, majority, or something else to be effective? And how does the board go about achieving that goal?
Well, I'm born and raised in San Marino, and I understand how important the school district is to the city. It's an important component of the city. It's not the city by itself, but it is the main reason why people move here and why they want to be here. They choose San Marino because the schools are excellent, but also it's an excellent community. And the schools play a pivotal part in that. When the school district falls down and is not able to accomplish, in my mind, being number one all the time, people start to question whether or not their kids should be going to school here or they should look at private schools. I think that's a problem. I don't remember a time when I was growing up when many people considered private schools over San Marino schools, because San Marino schools were so good that everybody thought it was a waste of time to even put money into private schools. That's changed. Another concern of mine, I walk around my neighborhood as time allows, and a lot of empty houses. And I don't know what the school district can do about it, but those empty houses mean there are not families that are sending their kids to San Marino schools. And ultimately, financially, that hurts this district. And I'd like to find out what it would take to get that fixed, whether it's through the San Marino community itself or through our members at the city council. But I think it's something that has to be done. Really, it really needs to be addressed. I have 8 empty houses within 1 block of my house. And that's a lot of families that are not attending schools. And by the way, I live next door to the house I grew up in. So I know this
10
street.
seconds.
Okay. Last thing, being number one, I think we need to be able to compromise here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barger. Next, Mr. Morris. Let me know if you want me to repeat the question.
Thank you very much. I think the most critical thing for us to reach a consensus is to listen. We should use our ears at least twice as much as we use our mouths. We're all here for the same purpose. We need to listen to what our compatriots say, because they have the same level of voice as you do as another fellow member of the board. That's the only way you'll be able to come to consensus. I don't insist on unanimity, and I'll settle for majority. I prefer consensus. But you get through discussing the differences in your feelings, and sometimes creating an alternative message that addresses all the concerns into one motion. That's all I need.
Thank you. Ms. Lamb?
Hi, thank you. So I do not believe that we all need to agree on everything. However, I do strongly believe that you need to agree to have the same values. As a board, as a body, you need to agree to be committed to the same cause, to be engaged for the same purpose, and to share the same vision. That's very important to have as a body, and you must agree on that. That at least I think is something that we should all be considering. However, when it comes to making decisions or addressing certain issues, we have to keep an open mind. I agree that we need to listen. Listening is very important. And keeping an open mind means that we learn from our different backgrounds, our different values that we grew up with, and come together with a proper solution on how to best enhance the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fong?
Thank you. The board is a collective decision-making body. Whether it should seek consensus, unanimity, or something else depends on the situation. The United States Supreme Court has 9 justices. Sometimes it issues unanimous opinion. Sometimes it issues majority opinion. Sometimes it issues a plurality of opinion. That means that some justices agree on one issue, some justices agree on another issue. I think that's the same to apply to any collective decision-making body. And unanimity is best if it's possible. But if it's not possible, then we have to take a vote and see how the majority votes. I think that's the democracy. That's what democracy is about. But however, whatever decision we take, after we make the decision, we should speak with one voice. And that's we should forget about our difference and speak with one voice.
Thank you. Ms. Solon?
Thank you. I was also born and raised in San Marino, and I appreciate all of the values that San Marino holds for all of us. Communication should be a key to how we communicate as a board and the administration. However, I believe that different views should always be welcome and be explored by all of the board members. If we don't have new ideas and new ideas to share with the group and discuss them, we don't change and we don't grow. Where I would love a majority, I will settle for a middle ground where maybe some new ideas come to the table and we explore a different way of doing all the problems that we have in the district that need to be changed a little bit coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Yes, thank you for having me. I think as a board, it is healthy to have open discussions, have open minds, and be open to each other's debate and constructive criticism. But I don't think that the board can work within the vacuum of this room. Rather, the board also has to consider the administration, the students, and the input of the parents and the community. Without that sort of collaborative process, we're not really holding up any kind of democratic institution here, like we just did the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. That's how this board should operate. But the board should not look fractured. It must look strong and united. I do not think that unanimity is the standard that must be upheld. I think it should be a majority. But once it is decided, all board members should be supportive. If every issue or measure or policy was a unanimous vote, I don't think we'd be having, it would be indicative that we're not having that open discussion and debate and open-mindedness that is necessary to run a board.
Thank you. And Ms. Caldwell, last but not least.
So just so I'm clear, we're answering the first question, right?
Yes,
Describe it,
correct.
okay. So there are obviously a lot of attributes and behaviors that board members need, but the three that I sort of identified as I think most critical are preparedness. There is
The first question, the board bylaw question.
So the question that I have first here is describe and explain three attributes. Is that not the one? Your third question. Well, we'll go there then.
Sorry about that.
That's
Let me
okay.
repeat the question then, just in case there's any misunderstanding. Board bylaw 9200 states the board is the unit of authority over the district and that a board member has no individual authority. Each of 5 board members votes and gives direction to the administration on matters pertaining to the schools. Do you believe the board as a unit should seek unanimity, consensus, majority, or something else to be effective? And how does the board go about achieving that goal?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I believe that each member of the board has a responsibility to decision issues based on their own research and understanding and sort of expectation of what they believe that result should be. The challenge, of course, is that you can't move forward with any implementation until you have a majority, at least, of the board on any single issue. So because you're a part of a 5-member board, it's very critical to ensure that you are working towards, at minimum, a level of consensus with the board, the other board members. So I would want to focus on that. I think that's very critical. I think it's a key part of the job. And honestly, one of the most important, because the board is a body of action and those actions cannot occur without the board getting to a place where they can agree on what that action is. I want to, echo the comments of some of the other candidates here who also indicated the importance of acting as one voice once the decision is made. Because it's a board, that board in fact does then have to implement whatever the outcome is and should do so together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay, thank you. So my question is, describe and explain 3 attributes and behaviors that are essential for effective school board members. Give an example of a particular issue and how you will lead and support the board in accomplishing the board goals. So thank you, Ms. Caldwell, for setting me up for that one. I'm going to begin with first, Ms. Lamb.
I believe the 3 attributes that are important for effective school board members is commitment. You must dedicate yourself to the cause. Being a visionary, because you have to plan for the future. You have to build the ground and foundation for future students and future generations. And above all, communication. I think communication is key to building a strong and successful board. And one way I think that we can enhance the communication efforts of the board is by increasing the San Marino Unified School District social media. I feel that the social media currently needs some strengthening. For example, I've looked at the YouTube channel, and I know that in the YouTube channel, there's less than 300 subscribers only. We have a population of over 10,000, and I might be wrong. We have a population of over 10,000 residents in San Marino, and to have such a low number engaged, I think is a bit concerning. And that being said, social media is a very important ground in this day and age. I'm sure all of us have smartphones, and we're all in some way, one or another, tied on to social media, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or even on WeChat. These are all different avenues that we can achieve and increase engagement between the student body, between teachers, parents, and by doing so, we're able to have a stronger voice. I think that the San Marino community definitely really cares and has a lot of different voices that they want to share. However, they may not always have the right platform. As such, that's one of the ways that we can lead and support the board in accomplishing its goals by further enhancing its communication avenues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Brown, same question.
Yes, thank you. I think the three attributes and behaviors important to a board member are, one, being passionate, a passion to set big goals and set the bar high. But also the second was to be practical. You have to work for those goals and that high bar within the confines of the law and the policies and what can be achieved within the budget and the resources. As an attorney, that's something that I'm a very practical, logical person. And so I'm confident that I can bring that attribute to this board. I also second the prior speaker about communication, but I also believe it should be a collaborative communication. This has been my first year in San Marino in the school district, and I did move here for the schools for my children. My son just finished his kindergarten year. And as a parent this year, I have to say the communication that came from the board was lacking. I was unaware when meetings were. We're holding a meeting today at 4 p.m. on a weekday. Most parents are still at work or they're in the middle of the thick of parenting their children right now. I agree too that the social media out there is, I didn't know where to find it when I first got here. Those are all issues I believe that we can remedy. Most parents coming into San Marino are millennials, and so they are used to a more social media centric, computer internet age. And I think that the board should capitalize on that and use it as a way to engage parents, because we've all been talking about how it's important to communicate and understand what the people of San Marino want, but how can we do that if we're not effectively collaboratively communicating with them? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morris.
The three attributes are commitment, listening, I've said that, and trust of our fellow directors. With that, we can come to meetings on time, be more efficient at doing the business we need to, and giving us all a little bit of time to take care of our families, as well as our responsibilities to the district.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Barger.
I kind of got the questions out of order, so I apologize because I thought the last one was questioned. They were in order. But in any case, I'll speak to that. First off, I want to say I served on the Business License Commission for well over a decade. And I was probably the most conservative person on that commission. But at the end of the day, we always agreed on stuff. So I want to circle back to that first question. And I just want to say that I think it is important that boards speak as one when they get done. Even in front of the public, I don't think you can bicker. I think you have to be together. I think you can talk about things in front of the public and get things straightened out without a whole lot of hassle. And I think the San Marino is all about that. That's why I live here, because I think I know almost everybody in this room. The people I don't, I'm sorry I don't, but it is a little bit concerning me today that we only see 10 people here, the 7 here and the 3 out in the audience. And this is the most important part of the city. The school district is the most important part. So circling back to your question now, I think trying to get people to understand once they move here, how important the school is and getting them to participate is important. Again, houses being empty is upsetting. And then I would also think that getting people to participate, parents to participate, and giving them a way to do that is important. So
30 seconds.
at the end of the day, I'm here for a reason. My son's 33 years old and he doesn't even live in town. I plan on getting carried out of here. And I'm dedicated to this community, and I can see that all 7 people here are too. That's why they're here today. And I just want to thank everybody for being here.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Sullivan.
The 3 attributes that are essential for an effective school board. I've said it before, communication. I believe communication is always the key, even if you don't, even if you have differing opinions, communicating about them, giving information about them should be something that you take into consideration. Personable, being a San Marino resident, I know that people in San Marino like to be asked questions. They like to be approached. It's the small town touch. What can we do for you? What do you need from us? Tell me your ideas for a more effective school board. What do you feel like you're lacking? Social media, great point. I did watch the marketing videos. They are fantastic. So that would be a great thing. I think the third would be a willingness to learn, maybe learn from things in the past, learn from other school districts, figure out what they're doing right, what they're doing not so right, and maybe think a little outside the box when it comes to that. The budget. How do we fill in the gaps in the budget? I'm a big fundraiser. I like it. I like planning things. I like getting out there and getting the community involved. And so I'm always thinking, how can we fill in the gaps? When I believe Dr. Richter explained the budget and the per person, what we're getting from the government,
30 seconds.
it was interesting to me to say, oh, I can fill that gap. I've raised that much money. I can do that again. So that would be another community project to get the community together to help the school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Caldwell.
The attributes and behaviors that I, kind of run through is what I believe probably to be the most important. And I say that knowing there's 100 that you actually need to have. But the top ones for me are preparedness. The breadth of responsibility for members of the school board is enormous. The things that you have to know and understand and integrate with other issues is really quite a lot. In my experience, it takes a new board member a minimum of 18 months to even come close to being proficient as a board member. And that's with very smart people. It's just a very, very difficult job. So being prepared and being able to understand the issues, being able to communicate your points, your thoughts, that's probably number 1. Number 2 is being open-minded. Everybody comes to the table with a different set of experiences and sometimes with a different set of goals. But I think it's important for board members to understand, sort of the perspectives of everyone and test those perspectives and opinions against their own thoughts in an attempt to try to reach some sort of consensus and truthfully a better outcome, because it includes elements of everyone's thinking instead of maybe just what you started with. The other thing is focused. I think you really have to be very attentive to the issues that are going to make the difference. The example I would give is when I was on the board before, we established the 3 A's of excellence: academics, arts, and athletics. Every initiative ran through that. Every initiative had to meet that perspective, that goal, if we were to do it. And I would want to approach it similarly.
Thank you. Daniel Fong.
Thank you. The three attributes that are essential for effective school board members, in my opinion, are open-mindedness, ability to seek consensus, and impartiality. Let's use a scenario to illustrate. The San Marino School District decided to impose a mask mandate on students and teachers because of the pandemic. One group of parents called Let Them Breathe filed a lawsuit against the school district, saying that the mandate is harmful to the student. Because of the impending lawsuit, the school board decided to lift the mandate. However, another group of parents threatened to file a lawsuit against the school district if the school district lift the mandate. As a board member, I will approach the issue with an open mind. I will let both sides to express their opinion fully. And also, second, I will seek consensus. The consensus here is that both sides are concerned with the well-being of the student. And they don't want the school district to be entangled in endless litigation. They just see the mask mandate differently. So I'm confident I'll be able to seek consensus. And I will be impartial to both sides. And I believe that there will be a good ending. And that's how I approach an issue when there's a controversy in the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Kalaki.
Okay, so first I will start with Ms. Solon. Considering the board is responsible for hiring the district's superintendent, what are the experience qualifications you believe are necessary for a superintendent?
Thank you. I believe that diversity in a background should be a key. The superintendent should be well-versed in all different aspects of a school board, any other treasurer positions, any other group positions that person has had, budget committees should be taken into consideration, and a willingness to be open to new ideas. When you bring in different ideas from all different types of committees, then you really have a well-rounded superintendent who is willing to explore and think about what this new school district needs and how that person can help us better. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, the same question. Considering the board is responsible for hiring the district superintendent, what are the experience qualifications you believe are necessary for a superintendent?
I think it's necessary that San Marino find a superintendent who has a strong management administrative background, but also a background in education. It would be lovely to see someone who's actually spent time teaching in a classroom, because at the end of the day, that's where the students are. They're in a classroom with a teacher, and we need a superintendent who can relate to that, but also elevate that to what an administration needs to also fulfill the overarching needs of a school district. You know, in this post-COVID world, I think education has and will continue to evolve. So I think it's necessary to find a superintendent who is willing to go along with that evolution as the board sets its sights on perhaps new visions or slightly different visions given where we're at in this day and age. I'd like to see a superintendent who can encompass all of those qualities.
Thank you. Ms. Lamb, would you like me to read the question or?
No, it's fine. Thank
Okay,
you. I believe that the superintendent should possess the qualities of being a visionary. It's an important quality to have because, like I mentioned in my earlier response, you do have to set the tone for what your future goals are, and you are building a foundation for future generations to come. So knowing that what action you're taking will affect and basically cause a ripple effect is something that's very important to have. One other quality to also have is being multi-skilled. As a superintendent, you're wearing many different hats. You're managing many different people. The superintendent should be skilled in the financials because it's important to be well-versed in numbers and also understand budgets and different ways on how the fiscal year is going and how financials should be spent. like a business, it's also very important to manage the operations because the superintendent will have to understand how the school operations goes and to also understand how to manage its body of people. Another very important quality to have is communication. This is something we've touched upon in the last hour about how important it is to communicate. So that is being in the know, communicating with the board, communicating with students, with parents, participating in the social media platforms, like I mentioned, so that you can reach to a larger audience. And also, lastly, being very committed, because this is not an easy feat to do. These qualities that this individual must possess is something that requires someone that's very determined. And this person is not stepping into an easy pair of shoes. However, they should also be prepared to know that they're stepping into a community that is also very supportive and has open ears. And those are the things that the superintendent should have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morris, would you like me to repeat it or you?
No, that's fine, Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. I like the things I've heard from my fellow candidates. If you wish. It's important for a new superintendent to come with an experience and understanding of the community that we are, as opposed to a large district or something. That we don't do the same thing as LA Unified. We need to our new superintendent has to help us work together as a board, work together as a team and form consensus. He's part of helping. We need to be able to do that to be able to help him succeed or her. Hopefully they have experience in a similar district, but also with classroom, with policy, and with working to help a board do its job the right way. That's.
Thank you. Ms. Caldwell, do you have the question? Would you like me to read it? Or?
I got it here.
Thank
It's
you.
actually hard to hear you all back here. I don't,
Oh.
it's actually easier to hear these guys than it is you. So I think it's just the speakers, but now that I know what you're talking about, we can do it. So for me, I think a demonstrated commitment to students and education. I mean, this is the job, right? Is you really have to be committed to ensuring that our students get the level of education that we expect here. It's a world-class education, and there has to be a maniacal focus proven from that individual that they can deliver against that. I'd say secondarily, there needs to be proven experience in the role as superintendent. You know, I've unfortunately had to do this before, and in my experience, we don't get existing superintendents as candidates. We get assistant superintendents who are wonderful, but it's a very big jump from being an assistant superintendent to being a superintendent, and not everyone can make it, and it's very hard to determine which ones can and which ones can't. So being able to identify someone who has that demonstrated capability is very important. I would also say that there are a myriad of other responsibilities that fall in the role of superintendent. It's a job that really has a million hats to it. They are the chief ambassador for the district. They're the chief negotiator. They're facilitators. They must be a visionary. They need to be a strategist. They have to be an economist. They have to be a finance person. I mean, there really isn't a single thing in a normal business that a superintendent in a school district doesn't need to be pretty strong in. So I think that is really important. And when you take that and you bring it here to San Marino, I think it actually elevates those requirements a little bit more. We have, you know, deservedly so, a very high expectation in the community of what's going to happen in our district. And it makes it difficult for people to transition in here. So you need someone exceptionally strong to be able to deal with that.
Thank you. Mr. Fong.
Thank you. In my opinion, an ideal superintendent should have teaching experience because the superintendent must understand what teachers face day in and day out. he or she must understand the difficulty that students face in school. So in my opinion, the superintendent should have a minimum of 10 years of teaching experience. And also the superintendent should have management experience, because the superintendent will manage a large staff and a large budget and stakeholders with different opinions. He must have management experience. And also a superintendent, in my opinion, should have training in mediation and conflict resolution, because the superintendent will deal with teachers and teacher union. He or she will need the skills to successfully manage a school district. In my opinion, I will be looking for a person with 2 master degrees in this position, a master degree in education, and another master degree in business management, an MBA degree. I think in my opinion, ideal candidate should possess 2 master degrees. And also, he or she should understand our community. In the San Marino School District, 60% of our students are Asian or Pacific Islanders. I think that an ideal candidate should have some understanding of the Asian culture, that the Asian parent and really put a lot of emphasis on their children's education. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barger, do you have the question?
Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Superintendent needs to have connections. Superintendent needs to have connections outside of our community to get us what we need. Superintendent needs to develop connections in our community to get what our school district needs. Superintendent needs to be a person who is able to execute on the direction that the board gives them. Very difficult job, because you're talking about money, you're talking about staffing, you're talking about negotiating contracts, all kinds of things. So this is a person that has to be very diverse, has to have a lot of connections when it comes to being able to drive a hard bargain for us and make sure that we're getting what we deserve, what we've earned outside of our area here. I think San Marino is a unique small community where it's very easy for a superintendent to get some direction, and then we let them do their thing. And if possible, if they have those kind of connections and if they're able to execute on them, it benefits our community. And I've known every superintendent, probably the last 3 or 4. And I think one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about, I want to make sure that loyalty is important to me right now. I want to make sure that the superintendent is going to stick around. This is not a stepping stone. I don't want somebody thinking that San Marino is a stepping stone. I want somebody who's planning on sticking around.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is everyone ready for the last question? Okay, my question is, why are you applying for Board of Education position? If appointed, what will your priority be? Okay, start from the Lam, Ms. Lam. Yeah.
Thank you. So I've moved here to San Marino for 1 year now, and I am a mother of soon to be 3. I have 2 girls right now. So my first one is an older one. She just finished TK in Carver, so she's turning 6. My second one is still an infant. And I soon, like I said, I'm going to have a third one, and it's a little boy. So I am going to be in San Marino for the next, give or take, 15 to 20 years. And as a result, I am very invested in this community already. I feel very welcomed. I am very connected with my neighbors. And I'm also here because of the school district. A year ago, when we decided to move here, it was because my daughter is starting school, and we made the decision to come to San Marino for the school district. Ever since she started school, though, we've learned a lot about different school districts that I have friends in. And although we're very much enjoying San Marino, there are certain areas that I do see we can enhance upon. And I believe with my experience, my professional experience, and also my passion and commitment, I'd like to serve on the board and make that type of difference. I think the priorities firsthand is to enhance the communication. San Marino is a very small community, but despite that, I still feel that the engagement is a bit low, could be further enhanced and strengthened. I believe that with stronger communication, we'll be able to hear more from parents, from the community on how to improve on the quality of education. The quality of education is so very important because in speaking with my neighbors that have lived here for more than 10, 20 years, they have kids that did go through the San Marino School District in elementary and in middle school, but
10
when it came
seconds.
to high school, they decided to jump ship to Poly or other private schools. And the reason for that is because of the quality of education. They cited to me that they think that there's not enough college preparatory. Thank you.
To the Mrs. Caldwell.
Thank you. Well, the main reason I'm here is because I care deeply about the school district. I have, as many of you know, had my children graduate from here. I've spent quite a bit of time working within the school district, and part of that was 2 terms on the board. So I feel very invested, within the school district itself. I have substantial experience. The board's facing a lot of big issues. My experience as a former board member allows me to hit the ground running. And given the short window of time here, I think that's very helpful for the board. My priorities with this time would be working with the other board members to address the critical issues that are before you now. Obviously, the decision about a superintendent and how you move forward there, how to address what is an alarming rate of declining enrollment. That is very troubling, and the related financial instability it causes. Those are honestly the things that I think are most critical for the board and really need to garner an enormous amount of time for the board between now and probably forever, but November for sure.
Thank you. Next, go to the Mr. Fong.
Thank you. I want to apply for this position because I want to serve my community. I've been a San Marino resident since 2018, and I decided to spend the rest of my life in San Marino. I have an 8-year-old son who is studying in Carver Elementary School. So I have a stake in the success of the school district. And I'm very impressed with the performance of the school district. In San Marino School District, 92% of our elementary students are proficient in math, and 94% of our elementary school students are proficient in English reading. There's a very high rate, and I want to continue the continued success of the San Marino School District. If appointed, my top priority is school safety. I want to ensure that it's 100% safe for our students to study in San Marino. And I will enhance the liaison with the San Marino School Police Department, and hopefully, and there will be a full-time police officer stationed at the school district. And second, my second priority is to expose our students to technology, such as coding and robotics. I think they represent the future of the economy. And my third priority is I want to instill a sense of patriotism in our students. And that, I'm not saying that we should whitewash the shortcomings of our country, but I want to make sure our students that in spite of all the shortcomings the United States is still the greatest country on earth. They should love their country. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, go to the Mr. Brown.
Yes, thank you. I applied for this position because I am new to this community, but we have wholeheartedly embraced San Marino and they've embraced my family back. We've been involved, my husband's coached the Little League. We were very involved with Cub Scouts this year. Between volunteering at Valentine Elementary, I judged the mock trial competition for the middle school over at the high school. I got to see the scope of the school district and not just the kindergarten over at Valentine. And in doing so, I'm so excited for the opportunities afforded to my family, and I'm reinforced our decision to move here. But there have been some concerns I've had within my first year living here, and I expressed those earlier, one being a lack of communication. I think I get the San Marino Tribune, that newspaper, right? And I think within the first month of moving here, a board member had resigned, and then another, and now the most recent, I think. And you think, well, what's going on? If I'm elected to this board position, I will seek to create a more united front and have more assurance to our parents and students and community about what this board is setting out to do. That includes increasing engagement with the public. I'd like to have a more robust social media presence, a more robust presence of the board on the ground at events, meeting parents, meeting students. I would single-handedly work with everyone here to do that. I would also like to see a superintendent hired soon. I
30
think that's
seconds.
something this community needs to have just for the reassurance, if not just the practical purposes of needing a permanent superintendent. Also, I think we need to, I'd like to have a more inclusive approach to our schools. When I was at the new parent orientation at Valentine
10
this year,
seconds.
I'll be very quick. Yes, we had one in English, we had one in Mandarin. Somebody was there in the English one and said, do you have a Spanish interpreter? And we did not. San Marino is ever evolving between, our broad speaking English population and Mandarin speaking population. And that's something we cannot overlook.
Thank you. Next go to the Mr. Barger.
Yeah. I'm applying to San Marino School Board because I care about this community. I live in this community. I grew up in this community. I went through all these schools. My son went through these schools. My brothers, my sister, everybody's gone through these schools. I care about this community deeply. And I get along with everybody I believe on this board, unless somebody doesn't like it that I don't know about. And so my first priority would be to try to sit down and just kind of get moving. And moving means getting things done. My first priority besides that would be to try to figure out a way to get our fair share of what should be coming down from the state of California. And looking at also going back, circling back to that, to the bond measure that we all sat on. We were a bunch of people on that board, and it failed. It only failed because people just didn't come out and vote. But if we had raised that money and we had passed that bond measure, we'd be doing things right now to the schools that we need to be doing, and we're not doing them. So I believe because of what's going on in the world right now, I think it's a good time for us to also talk about that, to talk about maybe getting the schools fixed, getting things done, and taking a look at updating our schools. So that would be one of my many priorities, along with trying to making sure that we don't lose any additional teachers. That would be a top priority for me. I'd also like to talk about maybe setting up an endowment to take care of the buildings, to get people
30
in
seconds.
this town to start contributing money to an endowment that ultimately would end up taking care of the buildings by way of investments, just like we did on the Boy Scout board when I was running the board. That's the way that has to be done. Otherwise, there is no money to take care of these buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Next go to Mr. Morris.
Thank you. I've not lived my entire life in San Marino, but my family's been within the range for almost 150 years. And I'm proud of that heritage. And I understand the history of San Marino. I've served in leadership roles in a number of community organizations, and I've learned a tremendous amount about the community and the people that live here. My wife graduated from San Marino High School. My sons graduated from San Marino schools. I have 4 grandchildren. I have one at each one of the 4 schools. I want to finally have my chance to volunteer for the district, as my sons have and as my wife has, such that I can make sure that the quality of education that they received will work with all my grandchildren. That's what I care about.
Thank you. So lastly, go to the Mr. Soren.
Thank you. I have an 8-year-old. She is here tonight. I see a lot of media regarding middle and high school, but I don't see a lot of communication with some of our younger grades. And I'd like to improve the communication between the school board and Valentine and Carver. As I said before, my favorite thing is specialty fundraising for different programs. Last year I was on, this year at the end, I was on the PTA allocations committee. And it opened my eyes to all of the planning that it takes to make all of our special programs and extras thriving. I want to make things, special programs a reality for our school, perhaps with special programs, different interests. We can help with a declining enrollment if different families see that we're willing to give them something that they want by communicating with them and asking them their needs. Perhaps we will have more people attending our schools. I would just like to know how I can bridge the gap and communicate a little bit better with all of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I think we conclude for today the interview with each of candidate. So right now, I like our portfolio to discuss for the next process. Yeah. To appoint the
Public comment.
oh, let me see. Yes, yeah, sorry about. Okay. So we are going to have a public comment again. So AA, communication from the audience regarding a poll candidate may be heard at this time, but not responded by the Board of Education. Dr. Choi.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. We're pausing for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding the matters on the agenda. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9 or submit a public comment card. Thirty seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, Mr. Chang, we have no requests.
Okay, besides that, I also like to know is that they have a public comment card in person. Oh, okay. So with that, we conclude for the post public comment collection period. Okay, and the next will be the agenda 9, appoint the successful candidate. So I like to open to my board fellow for the discussion. Comment.
Mr. Chang,
Go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why I'm holding that because my microphone's right here. Thank you so much, candidates. I really appreciate this time that you have spent with us. I really appreciate all of your thoughtful comments and that you came prepared and you answered our call to support our school district. With that, I would like to make a motion, or Mr. Chang, may I make a motion?
View my notes.
Either we want to make motion now or we want each one to share your.
No, he just wants to review his notes, right?
Well, at the moment, I'd like to just review my notes from all the answers, and then maybe we could either have a discussion or.
Okay, 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 I would like to, each of a board member share your comment, yeah, and then we make a.
Before making a motion.
Yeah, okay. You want to make a more comment?
Yes, I wanted all the candidates to know that I really appreciate them coming out. I am thanking them for their thoughtful comments. And I'm thanking them for coming out and in support of our school district and their intent to serve the community.
Thank you. And the next, Mike. You want to share your
I'd still like to have just a moment to review my notes. I haven't had a chance to go through the answers if I could.
Not ready yet. I get where Mr. Clarke is coming from, but I did want to say before anything else, thank you very much to all of you for coming out. I appreciate so much the community's willingness to step up into these roles. And so having all of you come here and the breadth of experience at this table from people who went to schools here and whose 150-year heritage and brand new to the community, and those who other family members have served our community in many other ways, and the willingness to step in yet again, and to step up is just so appreciated, because I think this really shows right here the diversity of that makes San Marino amazing. Just at the 7 candidates in front of us. So thank you. But I agree with Mr. Kalaki. I just need a minute to sort of go through all of this.
Okay, in the meantime, I would like to put my appreciation to all of the candidates. You know, when we need to fit the 5th appointed school board, I'm kind of worried that we will get some candidate, but when the name come out and also review your the background experience, I'm so grateful. We have a lot of participation. So I think each of candidate, you have a very good and a positive intention trying to help the San Marino Unified School District. So on behalf of the Board of Education and the school district, I really like to appreciate each of your time and effort. I know it's a short time period, and especially you probably also need to take your family for vacation, entertain your kid, or entertain your parent, get together after the post COVID-19 stage. Everyone is time to get together, but you put the time here today. That means you show your commitment to the community, to our school district. So that's good. And then right now I make my own comment. This is my 21 years serve for the school board member. So, but longer it doesn't mean anything. But I think the commitment is there. So to me, I feel what I'm looking for is a very stabilized school district, and continue to provide quality education to our kids. But please remember, because we are the unified school district, so we are not the high school district or the elementary school district. We are unified school district. So mean from the K to 12. So mean the lot make our school district, the administrator and the cabinet staff, they need put more the preparation. Yeah, because some of you maybe have the kid in the elementary. Yeah, it's very important, because during the elementary school, we have to build up the foundation. So then the kid go to the middle school and then go to high school. Because I did hear about some of the students, they graduate from the elementary school and then they choose to private school. But there's a lot of reason. I think each of you probably you can analyze the reason. Yeah, I think some is a private reason, some is the responsibility. School district need to take the accountable, on this issue. So this is also the issue for the last 20 years. So we need to continue to explore. The reason I keep talking, because I'm waiting for this to gentlemen and lady to review. So I will continue to talk until they said they are ready. Okay. So I talking about the K to 12. That's the one, you know, I wish each of the candidate understand. So when you became the school board member, your heart had to go to the K to 12. Yeah, it's not just focus on the school. Okay. And secondly, I appreciate, you know, some of candidates mentioned about, you know, community recognition and the community communication. This is also very important because, you know, this is the smaller the community and a lot of, you know, the dedicator, you know, for the last 50 years, you know, they build up the foundation for our community. We need to make sure, you know, community and the school district, I think is like in the city is one family. Yeah, everyone make their own effort and make sure, you know, we can deliver our good quality service and for the education for the kid for tomorrow. Are you ready or I have to continue? Okay, I keep talking now. Just stop me, yeah. When you okay.
I do appreciate you
Okay.
giving at least a couple of quick moments for me to review the notes. You know, it's clear we have 7 people here that truly care about the community, that want to dedicate their time, their skills, their experience for the benefit of our children and our community. And for that, I genuinely want to thank each of you. You'll hear a lot of comments about time on the board and people's perspectives of it and what can be accomplished and what should be accomplished. But until you're actually on the board, it's a very educational process when you get on it. And so, but that being said, I want to thank each of you. I'm looking at 7 people right now that bring a diversity, a variety of skills and talents and experience and connections and abilities that I think could each help the board and help the community and help the district. So thank you for each of you for stepping up. Thank you to each of you for being willing to try to put yourself out there for the betterment of our children and our community. When I'm looking for somebody on our board, I think it is important to have a diversity of viewpoints, a diversity of perspectives, and a willingness to listen to different perspectives and different priorities, and to genuinely try to work together to incorporate ideas which may not necessarily go in line with everybody, but at least try to point out thoughts, concerns, suggestions, issues in effort to try to move the district forward. And I saw and I heard a lot of answers that did go along with that were consistent with that. And so I appreciate each of you for having that open-mindedness, that communication, that willingness to learn. These are different comments that I wrote down in notes that were said tonight or today. So I appreciate the opportunity to have a few minutes to think about it. It is hands down, in my opinion, the absolute most important decision that the board faces right now is somebody that can be a part of this board and help make sure that it's got a unified direction and help with that process and try to achieve goals of success, both in children that are at lower grades, middle grades, upper grades, and for the community as a whole. So for each of your input, I want to thank you for that.
Okay, thank
Anything
you,
that you'd like to
Mr. Kiraki. The next, Mrs. Chong.
Back on? Okay, there you go. So I was thinking a little bit more about what I'm looking for in a board member to complement the rest of our existing board. And it's the elephant in the auditorium that this is a 6-month seat with 4 seats opening in the fall. And so the question before me right now is, what is going to be the goal of this present board for the next 6 months? And I think some of the major issues are in front of us that really require a full breadth and depth of the issues. So to put it out there, obviously we talked about the superintendent, we talk about the budget and the enrollment issues that we face. We talk about the facilities has been mentioned, and we talked about curriculum and instruction teachers. And I think at the heart of it all, it's always going to be about prioritizing our students so that when they come back in the fall, whatever is happening here has very little, actually not even little, has no negative impact on our students. So the dynamics of our board and the business of our board must ultimately be whatever we need to do to support our administration so they can be effective in providing the best opportunities in education for our children. So when I look at the board in front of us, the candidates in front of me, I think for me, that's where I'm coming from as I consider that, because there are decisions that need to be made. There are decisions that need to be molded and maybe not made. And I think that requires a lot of wisdom, not only in knowing what's needed for the board to consider and for the administration, but for the community. I think one thing that we always forget is, despite the importance of our schools in our community, we are elected by our community and not by the school parents, not by the school teachers, not by the principal. And so we are ultimately held accountable to our community. So when I think about who our community would want to elect, that's also another thing that is at the forefront of my mind. And I would agree. I'm a little bit surprised and not a little bit surprised that we haven't gotten any input from people publicly. I don't know if it's the timing. I don't know if it's because it's such a short stint. I don't know. I'd like to think it's because they sort of just trust us up here to make the right choices for the next 6 months. That would be my optimism speaking. So I think with that in mind, for me, it's about finding our flow as a district. For me, it's about being able to get to that point where our administration can do their job, where we're not distracted by anything happening at this table by this board. So I will hold off on making a motion, but I welcome any motions that Ms. Ryan may want to present at this point.
Yeah, so that's your
That's
comment.
it.
Okay, let me talk about my comment. So I think the most of the issue, I think Mrs. Chong already mentioned. Yeah, actually, this appointment is served for the 6 month period only. Yeah, it's not so the election and have like a 4 years term or the 2-year term. So actually it's a very short. So for my own opinion, I wish, my future fellow, they can immediately step in and work with for the school board member and the superintendent or the district cabinet, because we have the continuously we have a project we had to move on, yeah, to prepare for the August the school opening, yeah. And secondly, you never know what's going on in the United States. Yeah, you know, I remember the 3 years ago, you know, that time nobody expect you know, COVID-19. So then we the March, I think the second week or third week of Friday. So then the LA County Health Department said, and also education, they said, we need to close. So mean the, and you also check for this week, you know, the county health, some of the data, you know, look like going back again. So I just want to remind everyone, you know, we serve as a school board member. Yeah, we definitely we focus on promote the student and the teacher, the curriculum instruction. And in the meantime, we need to face a lot of the management issue. You know, we are going to prepare for the school district, the budget, and to approve. So a lot of issues are coming, and eventually, I think this probably we have a high percentage of the management issue. Each board member had to oversee and help the school district to achieve the goal. So that's my only comment, 2 cents. Yeah. So with that, are we ready to go back to have make a motion?
Yes, we are, Mr. Chang.
Okay. So
Okay. I opened up with thanking all of you. And sometimes I will say, you know, I say to my board, we need to go slow so that we can move faster later. But at this particular junction in where we are with the school district, what's happening with COVID, what are the issues in front of us, there's a lot of complexity that is before us. And so I'm really looking at continuity. I'm looking for experience. And I see so much potential in leadership, but we need to kind of address things pretty quickly. Like I want to just state out to qualify, if you are nominated and if you choose to accept, you're going right back in to the district office and you're going to be working right away. So you won't be going home, you won't be having dinner, and you'll be making that commitment. Mr. Chang and my fellow board members, we often talk about the commitment we must make, the priorities that we put ahead of ourselves and ahead of our families. And so with all of that consideration, board members, I would like to make a motion to put forth Ms. Jeannie Caldwell.
any second?
I second.
Okay. Roll call. Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Mrs. Chang,
Aye.
Mr. Kiraki.
Aye.
Mr. Chen, aye. Motion carried.
Thank you. Can I just say one more thing though to the rest of you? We have an election coming up. If any of this is still interesting to you, I believe it opens up August or closes August. I can't even remember. Yeah, I don't even know. Yes.
So there are 4 seats available this fall, and we encourage all of you to consider running. We have had just a wealth of experience and leadership come forth, not only in this particular filling of the seats, but the two previous ones. So we encourage all of you guys to seek that 4-year seat as well as the 2-year seat. So thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so
uh,
much.
Oh, we didn't actually ask if she accepted it.
Oh, she has to accept?
I don't know.
I shouldn't have told her she has to go into closed session right away.
Procedurally, a point of procedure, how does that work?
Okay, so, okay, on behalf of the Board of Education, so this moment, I like to ask the Mr. Caldwell, do you accept? Oh, okay. So with that, I like to estimate the Dr. Territory as a superintendent to conduct the
Swearing
Yeah.
in. In my capacity as Secretary of the Board of Education, we would like to swear you in. Mrs. Caldwell. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeannie Caldwell, do solemnly swear that
I, Jeannie Caldwell, do solemnly swear that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution,
that I will bear true faith and what?
allegiance
Allegiance to the Constitution,
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
thank you,
Yes, sorry.
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And with that, you are sworn in as a member of the Board of Education to fill the remainder of the term of Mrs. Namjack. Congratulations to you, Mrs. Caldwell.
Thank you.
So at this time, what typically happens is we excuse the candidates and thank you so very much for your interest in this position. We really do appreciate that. And then we will be taking a photograph with our new board member. So if you wouldn't mind.
Before we take a photograph, I think I need to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, yes, you do. I apologize.
So, and also, when we adjourn the meeting, actually, we had to go back for closed section. So the fifth appointed school board member, we want you to work immediately
I thought they
for
were
the
kidding,
next
but they're
couple
not.
hours.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a motion?
To adjourn.
Oh,
To adjourn.
okay, any, Sherry, not yet.
Oh,
Sherry?
Shelley.
Yeah.
Mike, we just have to vote.
Mike, we
Mr.
haven't
Blackie.
finished, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
we need to adjourn.
Mike?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, you make a motion to adjourn any second? Okay, roll call, Mrs. Ryan, Mrs.
Aye.
Choi,
Aye.
Mr. Kiraki. Aye. Mr. Chen, aye. A motion carry, okay.
Great.
Meeting adjourned.